Hey, welcome to the Virtually Speaking podcast, coverage of VMware Explore 2025. It has been a week full of announcements, lots of conversation around VCF. And hey, man, we can't talk about VCFs without talking about core storage.
You know, it's an area where you and I got started, and it's I like to think technology evolves and changes, but I think it's still, it's very foundational and very relevant.
Literally, it is foundational to VMware Cloud Foundation. Would you agree?
Yeah.
And we can't do that without talking to our good friend, Mr. Vijay from Product Management. Vijay, welcome back.
Thank you. Good to be back.
Yeah. So the last time I saw you in person was in Palo Alto when VCF 9 was just recently released. And we were talking about all the different things that were happening and parts of core storage. So now that we're here at VMware Explore and you're able to talk to customers about all these new things, let's start with that. Like, what have you been talking to customers about as it pertains to core storage?
Well, we can expand that further a little, right? Core infrastructure, storage, compute, networking.
I meant to say core infrastructure.
I know
I'm so used to storage.
I know
you've been just storage at one point, and yeah, absolutely, core infrastructure.
But look, as you said, right, the core infrastructure is the foundation. Everything else builds on top of that.
Yeah.
And so, customers are excited about all the new features that we deliver, right? Memory tiering. I mean, honestly, even I was surprised by the level of interest customers have shown for that feature. It's not one of those sexy features because it's memory tiering.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's a very geeky feature, if in some ways. But
I've had 3 people come up and want to get deep dives into the IO path and reminding me of how is this different from TPS versus swap and all the and balloon driver. We've been talking about balloon drivers again. I was like, I don't think I've talked about a balloon driver in 15 years.
I had the same experience. Every customer meeting, I flashed the roadmap slide, and somehow customers gravitate towards that. And hey, tell me more about that, right? And so that's one. The other one that is, that's gotten a lot of interest is vSAN Global Dedupe, right? And cluster-wide dedupe. A lot of customers have been waiting for it. So a lot of questions about that. And the one that's really exciting for me personally, the one that I like to talk to customers about is VPCs, right? I mean, it's truly simplifying the way we configure networks in VCF.
Yeah, virtual private cloud.
Virtual networking, and especially for any customer that needs isolation, tenancy, security, and so and it also ties nicely with the simplification message. And so, I'd say these are the 3 that that I've been talking a lot about, in terms of core infrastructure.
Yeah, it's interesting because those first 2, the memory tiering and the vSAN Global Dedupe, those to me just feel like, okay, this is just a cost control play. Buy less NAND, buy less DRAM. But when you look at some of the other features, the VPCs, the confidential compute, that stuff, this is a security play, this is an OpEx play, this is I've got someone that I previously had to open 4 tickets with, or I've got an app user that, wanted special treatment. It's a very different kind of...
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned confidential compute and, the other side of it, right? One is, as you said, one aspect of this is TCO, right? Cost to a customer. Dedupe, memory tiering, it all comes down to cost. But the other big... top of mind for customers is security and resiliency. And so, we announced a cyber resiliency advanced service earlier today. But what's really key about that is that there's a number of enhancements that we're making, like confidential compute. You mentioned that. We're integrating EDR into the hypervisor.
Oh, wow.
And that's coming in the next release as well. And so there's a number of features that are, that we are, delivering over the next couple of releases that makes our platform a lot more secure and in fact, the most secure platform in the industry.
Well, I mean, people have been asking me for finding ways to get it. Okay, how do I install an agent ESXi, or how do I do that? These are things people have been asking for a long time, and there were technical challenges, there were political challenges, there were supportability challenges, but it's good to see that we're still going after, hard problems, so to speak, but things that people need.
Those are hard problems, and also if you, sort of look at some of the incidents that have happened in the last 1 year, CrowdStrike incident with Windows.
Right.
We want to avoid those kinds of things, and so it's a hard problem, not just from solving it technically, but also making sure that that it's, those kinds of solutions are deployed and provisioned and sort of maintained in a secure way so that it doesn't take out the rest of the environment. And so it's a hard problem for sure. And speaking of cyber resiliency, one other sort of capability that I'm very excited about, and every customer is talking about this, is ransomware recovery. Right? I don't know if when we spoke last, I said, hey, look, we are working on bringing ransomware recovery to an on-prem only deployment, and that's coming in the next release as well. And so it was announced earlier today. That's been getting a lot of attention from customers as well. Just bringing the whole, the workflow, the
IRE,
the IRE, automated IRE, bringing it all to an on-prem only deployment.
Yeah, there were quite a few announcements around core infrastructure this week. The one I heard about, I recently heard about a tech preview for object storage.
Yeah. So again, this has been one of our long-standing asks, and every time we, in the past when we thought about object storage, we said, hey, how about we just partner with somebody, right? Yeah. We partnered with MinIO, but then customers they want a turnkey solution that's just built into the platform.
Yeah.
And we said at one point, we said, you know what, screw it, we're just going to do it. And that's what we did. And yeah, here we are.
I like that speed of decision making. Yeah. Let's just do it. But this is something, if I go out to any public cloud, like what is one of the first service people, sometimes people consume object storage before they consume compute. It is a foundational service.
It absolutely is a foundational service, and especially for customers that, that are transitioning from just vSphere or some combination of vSphere plus operations to this self-service private cloud model. You need to have three things. You need to have the self-service way of provisioning application. You need to have isolation because different applications.
You need tenancy, you need segmentation.
VPC brings that to the table. And number three, you need a set of services for the applications to run on your platform. Object is one key service that's required, and there's a bunch of other services like databases as a service, which we also do.
Well, and it's funny you mentioned database service because my experience with DSM working with it was like, I stood this up. Oh, and I'm gonna set up backups. Okay, let me figure out which Oh, wait, I'm looking for S3 to back this up to. Like, S3 is particularly for the app automation world, is already a foundational service.
It's a foundational service. Exactly right. Exactly, and that's what we're hearing from customers. And in fact, I just came from a customer meeting where we had an hour-long discussion just about this object storage and other database like data services.
Yeah,
right? And so. A lot of interest with that.
Well, on the topic of customer conversations, I know that, just the time that we're in, there are a lot of customers that are going from just vSphere over all the way to VCF, and I'm sure you've had many customer conversations. What would you share, like, from the feedback from some of the early adopters that have moved to VCF that we can share with some of our listeners?
So they really like the first of all, there are two things, right? Two key takeaways. Customers who are on vSphere, they know that they need to get to a private cloud model with self-service because they're hearing from their own developers and application owners that they don't want to be the bottleneck. IT does, they shouldn't be the bottleneck, and so they need to make the transition. And so they're excited about having a single platform that provides self-service and all the services, right? And so that's one key. Feedback that we've heard from customers, excited. Even the beta customers, that's one key thing. And the other is, just to go back to the core infrastructure, customers really like the fact that, hey, even though we're building the self-service, even though we're building, all the, the management tooling around it, that we haven't lost sight of our core infrastructure and the innovations around core infrastructure, speeds and feeds, better performance,
bigger, faster scaling. I mean, memory tiering is part of that in a way.
Yeah. So. And so it's a good combination, right? You kind of get the best of both worlds. You get all the nice tooling around it, and you also get the the best platforms around any workload.
Yeah.
And that best platform. I mean, there's a lot of really in the details weeds of like, the V and VME and making sure of parallel I/O queues and the PSP stacks optimized. That stuff. I mean, in some cases, it took 8-9 years to get it all smoothed out end to end, but
Yeah. we have it now.
We've been around a long time, and we're going to keep improving it.
Yeah,
So.
we got tech previews of things, but from a product manager perspective, it's not every day we get to talk to the key product manager. So like, what can we share with folks? Obviously, we're not going to give the keys to the kingdom here, but like, what can we share? What can folks look forward to 12 to 18 months down the road for VCF? What are you guys thinking about? What are you looking at?
Yeah, it's like, certainly I don't want to
with no commitments, of course.
roadmaps here, but you can expect a lot more on the security front, right? We are just getting started with the on-prem ransomware recovery.
Yeah.
You can imagine that you can bring threat detection, early detection of cyber attacks right into the platform. So there's some work going on that front. A lot more on data protection. So you can imagine that vSAN, in 9.0 we released replication. That's the first step.
Yeah.
You can imagine that we can do a lot more with that. But I'll tell you the biggest focus area for us is going to be on Kubernetes and modern application. And so, imagine bringing all the goodness that we have for VMs into the Kubernetes world, data protection, storage, networking. So, customers should expect a lot of investment and a lot of features that we had in the VM world, but we're bringing it into the Kubernetes world, and that's where our focus is.
Yeah. That's where the focus needs to be. It seems to be the topic of conversation we're hearing from a lot of customers this week. So, Vijay, thank you so much for joining us on Virtually Speaking. Thanks for giving us that information, and we'll see you next time.
As always, good to talk to you guys. Yeah.
All right.